Tonight on the game show, I'm excited to have someone that has studied video games from their entire history. His Video Works channel is awesome, covering the entire history of video games and providing context that honestly I haven't heard anywhere else. One of my absolute favorite video series. I've been listening to Jeremy Parrish since, oh my gosh, 2007 at the absolute latest. It's been a very long time. Reading his stuff at oneup.com, IGN, and of course, driving around and listening to Retronauts. So without further ado, let's talk to Jeremy Parrish. This is Pac-Man X, and welcome to the game show on February 18th, 2026. How's it going, Jack?
It's going great. We raised a lot of money this weekend for the Children's Tumor Foundation here in Casey, so I had a great time.
That is wonderful. Also, people got to see you run around nearly naked.
I actually made the local news in my underwear, so that was a first. So.
Nice. Exactly how I want you to make news. And Jess, how are you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good. It has surprisingly been raining the last couple days in LA, which is always a rare and, I think, enjoyable occurrence. So I've just been enjoying the rain and getting a bunch of work done.
Nice. What's interesting is we have almost every time zone in the U.S. covered this evening across the host. We're missing mountain time. So, if we could get a skier down here or something, I guess. And we will introduce our featured guest here in a little bit, who we're really glad to have here, Jeremy Parrish. And Daria, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. This past weekend got to dip my toes into Alan Wake 2 for a little bit. So I know.
I am so excited.
I haven't gotten super far. Not like it's very, very beginning, but I love it so far.
I'm pretty stoked to hear what you think about it. So I'm gonna be trying that out with my new graphics card that I finally upgraded.
Oh, awesome.
So, nice.
Yeah. So since 2002, the game show has been celebrating video games and our collective interest, mixed with a healthy dose of humor, while bringing in our favorite people in the game and movie industries on as guests. And we're coming to you live every Wednesday at usually 9 p.m. Central. We're coming early at 7 p.m. this evening. And if you'd like to participate, go ahead and just type a comment there below on YouTube. I also read them during the week, so check them out there. If you go to breakmanx.com, you can join our Discord if that's your thing. And of course, the annoying but ever-present, please like and subscribe. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in to our quick topic zone. And Jeremy, if you have anything that you would like to add to any of this, feel free to hop in at any time. We're happy to have your expertise on this evening.
I will do that if something occurs to me.
Sounds awesome. Good. All right, Jack, take us away.
All right, well, let's get going. So a lot of news this past week. The main thing was the State of Play from Sony this past Thursday. A lot of different stuff got announced. A lot of it from Konami. In fact, two big ones. New Castlevania Belmont's Curse 2D action platformer. Looks like, I won't say it's a search action game, but it kind of looks like that. Looks like it's being developed by the guys behind Dead Cells, so very excited about that. If you have played the Dead Cells Castlevania DLC, I would highly recommend it. It's pretty great. So
It is
very much looking forward to seeing what they've got. I mean, Konami's figured out, hey, let's get back into games again. We've got all these franchises. Let's do something with them. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, we're all huge Castlevania fans, so.
Yeah.
And this does look like a Castlevania game that takes pretty heavy influence from Metroid. So I think you're allowed to use the word. I don't think you have to say search action. I think you can go ahead and say it.
Fair enough. It looks like it's going to be a Metroidvania.
I thought you were going to say map former.
Oh, that's one I have not heard yet. So that's a good one.
Oh yeah. There's like a whole genre of tweets directed at me, dedicated to coming up with other names for that genre.
That's fair.
Nice.
Yeah, and so after that, also one of the big announcements was the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2. So finally, Metal Gear Solid 4 will be playable somewhere other than the PlayStation 3. And just as a bonus, it will also have Metal Gear Peace Walker in there. So for those of you that never had a PSP, or for those of you that never got to play Metal Gear Solid 4, now is your chance. Metal Gear Solid 5 changed what I thought a Metal Gear Solid game was, but before that, 4 is probably my favorite just because of all the wacky places it goes.
Freed from the cell processor.
Exactly.
There you go.
So I keep hearing people say, "Oh, it's got Peace Walker in there also," and no one mentions that it's got the Game Boy Color game in there, which is amazing. It's a phenomenal game.
Oh, that's
and people are just like, portables, I don't know. I mean, that's not even right. Peace Walker was portable too. It's just like that whole game just totally, somehow the world just completely forgot it was there. And I'm not just talking about you, just like in general, it sold horribly. So now it's like super valuable. So that's actually like the thing to be excited about in this collection, because that game sells for like $200 now. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. I did not realize that.
It got a lot of hype in magazines back in the day, but apparently no one glommed onto it.
But the Game Boy Color audience was not the Metal Gear audience.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of overlap. It was like,
true.
Rugrats, great. Solid Snake, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll play that. We got to play it.
Yes, it's coming out in August, I believe. So I'm clearing out time in my schedule to play through Metal Gear Solid 4 again. Let's see. One of the other things announced was a new John Wick game. So that looks pretty cool. Just a kind of a little bit of gameplay, but mostly cinematics. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. I didn't catch who the developer was on that, though. Oh, you all right?
Yeah. Coffee. Went down the wrong pipe.
Gotcha.
I can look up who the developer is while I cough.
Yeah, if you can do that, I'll talk about the next one. God of War: Sons of Sparta was both announced and released. Again, looks like it's I haven't played it yet, but it seems to be a 2D platformer action game. I've seen mixed reviews on it online, but I'll probably check it out. Looks like it's kind of like a younger Kratos and some other things going on there too from a story perspective.
Nice. It is Saber Interactive.
Oh, okay.
Director Chad Stahelski.
So we'll see. Saber has done some good things in the past. I can't name anything off the top of my head right now, but they have done a few things. Let's see.
Such a high mark. You've done some things. We don't remember what they were, but you've done some things.
Kena, I think it's Kena. Scars of Cosmora, a follow-up to Kena Bridge of Spirits.
I like that game. Right. I know it. I don't think it was super well loved.
No, but the animation in it is amazing. Like it's a gorgeous looking game on the PS4. If you haven't played it, you should check it out when it's on sale next time. But yeah, it's a phenomenal looking game.
So do you want to hear what Saber's done?
Yes, go ahead. Hit me with like their last 5 games.
Last 5. Oh wow, it's a long list. Lots of scrolling. Bus Bound.
Uh-oh. Okay.
But here we go. Warhammer 40,000. Space Marine 3.
Okay, Space Marine. All right.
Turok Origins. Untitled Avatar: The Last that's TBA. It hasn't come out yet. Rails of Fury: Train Defense. Okay. Jurassic Park Survival. Is that 5? I think that's 5.
That's 5. I mean, the Space Marine games are pretty great. So, or at least they are very fun, and they stick to the Warhammer script pretty well. And they do the multiplayer in them is fantastic. So, all right, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. So there were a few other things that came out of that state of play, but those were kind of, I think, to me, those were the big 5 announcements.
Ones that stuck out.
Yeah, the ones that really stuck out.
Point out real quick, Sketchy Ceviche says, yay! And Crystal Madison says, hi, with lots of eyes.
Awesome, Walt. Hey to everybody.
Hello.
So in Saturn news, Hideki Sato, the designer of all of Sega's consoles, has passed away this past week. I don't know about any of you, but just the design of the Mega Drive, even the Sega Master System, just iconic consoles.
Oh yeah,
the Dreamcast too. Just
I'll even put it I mean, I love the 2D games in the Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Radiant Silver Gun's in my top 5. So I'll put the Saturn hardware on there too, even though, what happened with
it. They were always very functional, very. I'm trying to think. I won't say utilitarian, but they were sleek to a point, and they looked cool. So
yeah,
he leaves a legacy of cool looking hardware.
Yeah, I think the peak of his work was his 8-bit stuff that never actually came to the US. The first console that Sega published or created was the SG-1000, which started out looking very toy-like, but then after a year, they updated it with something called the Mark II, which was very, very slim, very angular, rectilinear. It was just kind of the essence of sleek 1980s hardware design. And then the Mark III, which became the Master System here, looked totally different in Japan. It was this white machine, an evolution of the SG-1000 II. And it's a beautiful piece of machinery. And he designed a bunch of components that go along with it, like an FM sound unit. And there's a broadcast box that would beam wirelessly the video to your television. And it just looks so clean and so elegant. I really feel like that is one of the most beautiful consoles ever. It's just so nothing is wasted. Every line matters. And also it has fun text silkscreened on the top of the system in English to hype you up.
Yes. The SG-1000's out in the wild. I've seen pictures.
Emulated it, but I've never seen the hardware. But no, it's some really cool stuff. I mean, the Mega Drive, obviously. I mean, I'd take any of those. I never played at much SG-1000.
I mean, it didn't come to the US, and also It's it was a ColecoVision basically. So it was pretty, it dated itself pretty quickly once the NES came out.
There you go. And if you want to hear any more in really amazing detail and lots of great subtext about any of this stuff, make sure you check out Jeremy's video work series on YouTube. It's all really, really fascinating. It's super high quality documentary style stuff. So check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, and then finally, last thing, Unreal Tournament 2004 got released in 4K for free by fan modders, and they actually got permission from Epic Games to do this. So, if you're a big UT 2004 fan, go check it out, go play it. It's still UT 2004, it still works. I haven't played it yet, at least not this version of it, but I think it's kind of cool. Epic's concerned about Fortnite. I don't think they're concerned about a few people playing UT 2004, but still kind of cool to see them, at least give a blessing to this version.
I will always remember the LANs back in the day of you being loose cannon and then whoever else was around for that game. Lots of yelling, especially from loose cannon. But it's pretty cool what Epic's done with that. I mean, releasing that, and then you can basically get, it's old, but the original Unreal Tournament with their blessing as well, playable on modern systems. So, it's nice. The original Unreal Tournament's still my favorite. I love that game. In terms of, FPS isn't my favorite genre, right? But of the FPS games, that's up there for me. All right. Well, thanks for your quick hitter there, Jack. That was some good stuff. So let's go ahead and transition here to the main event. So, Jeremy Parrish has been writing about video game history for so long that his earliest efforts have long since been lost to the dustbin of history themselves. After a decade and a half of attempting to engage with gaming's present at sites like 1UP, IGM, and US Gamer, he now spends all his creative energy recounting the medium's origins as media curator at Limited Run Games, the producer of the VideoWorks series on YouTube, and occasional host of the Retronauts Classic Gaming podcast. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
I'm glad to be here
We are
in this virtual space.
yes, yes, we are super stoked. I was mentioning to Jeremy before the show, but I think I've been reading, listening, experiencing his video game work for about 2 decades now, at least. My biggest memory is driving around listening to Retronauts. That series was really, it still is, but this was kind of the previous run of it way back in the day at 1UP.
1UP.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we did 100 episodes at 1UP, which seemed like so many, and now we're on like 750.
Wow.
I think we just published 750 the other day.
That's awesome.
For the new run, so
That's fabulous.
it just keeps going.
Yeah. No, that I remember especially the Secret of Mana episode, because I hadn't played that game in like forever. And, all those episodes kind of make you go back and want to play the games. But that one in particular, I remember because I for some reason just hadn't played that since it had come out. So, but lots and lots of good stuff. And of course, like I mentioned before, the Work series is really, really great. So if you haven't seen that, you should definitely check that out on YouTube. All right. So I've always loved the way that you talk about video games in general, because I think that you give them the respect that I feel that they deserve, kind of as like an art form, which is how I've always looked at them as well. How did you discover your love of video games?
I saw him as Pac-Man and was like, this is what I want my life to be. I was like 5 years old and it was brand new, and I was like, yeah, that's it. No, I just always enjoyed video games, and I didn't have access to them that much as a kid. So they had this extra element of fascination to them, because we didn't own a game system really until 1988 when the NES came out, and I was getting on in age. I was almost a teenager at that point. So, there were a couple of moments. I remember when I went to college, I said, you know what? I don't need to take video games with me. Video games weren't something that grown-ups did. I was a grown-up now because I was going to college. But then I came back at Christmas and Secret of Mana had just come out, and I was like, I got to rent this. This is awesome. I took my Super NES back to college with me the next semester. And a couple of years later, I was at just like this random pawn shop or used electronic shop or something. And there was this table full of NES cartridges. And this was probably like 1995, 96. And I had, discarded my NES 5 years earlier to get a Super NES. And I was like, I'll never look back. But I saw those games and I was like, man, this was good times. Like The Goonies 2, I love that game. Metal Gear, I love that game. And so I didn't do anything that day, but it just kind of got the gears turning. And I was like, you know what? I would still enjoy playing those games. And then, within a year, emulation kind of became a thing. And suddenly access to those older games was a lot easier because you didn't have to own a console or the games. You could just steal them. And, the performance was not great. I have memories of using Chrono Trigger and Super Castlevania 4 as like my tests for every time. I can't even remember what it was called, the very early Super NES Mac emulator. But like those, like the sounds of those games running at half speed, it's like kind of how I hear those games now. When I play Chrono Trigger and it does that opening pan with the fireworks and the balloons and stuff and the little opening ditty. If it plays at normal speed, I'm like, that doesn't seem right, because I spent so much time just like kicking the tires on those emulators. So yeah, from there it just became like a hobby, and then I got a job at 1up.com before it launched, and I've just been in video games ever since.
Awesome. Wonderful. I have similar memories of the emulators running at like 1 frame a second. So those were the days. But thank you. Thanks. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, no, I literally was in high school when I think I discovered MAME, and I was trying to get it on to run on one of the high school's Macs, and I was just like, well,
Was it one of those all-in-ones?
it was one of the all-in-ones, and I would play Bomb Jack, and it would run like maybe like 10 frames a second. So it was like, yeah, it was painful, but I was like, I'm doing this in school. This is awesome.
Yeah, for me it was the NES. Like I was trying to play Legend of Zelda, because I wanted to capture a screenshot for my little website at the time, and I just remember Link like moving like this across the thing, and like hearing like a couple notes every second. So yeah, we're so spoiled now. Like you can play anything at full speed at all times, as long as Nintendo's not like looking at you. So
Yeah.
All right, Jack.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, gaming journalism seems to have changed a lot in the last 15 years. So, what's your opinion on this? Like, do you think that's mainly due to change in development and publishing and how that side of the industry has gone? Or do you think it's more from other external forces, just like the way people consume media?
I mean, how real do you want to get here? Because there's this little thing called the Epstein files that's been going around.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of interesting revelations about how like mobilizing gamers to start a reactionary fundamental force to upend society and politics is in there, like spelled out. It's crazy, but
that's fascinating. I can totally see that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I don't really want to get into it here, but yes, Gamergate was like a scheme that they concocted. You know, these billionaires on an island doing nefarious things. So that's part of it, but really there are bigger, I would say, forces of society and also just of business. As game models have changed, and you've basically got 20 really big AAA games coming out each year, and then you have all these people clamoring to create this subscription kind of revenue generating system where you get stuck into a game and you play it forever, Fortnite or something. And then you also have this massive indie scene, just way too many games for any one publication to cover, coming out daily. It's just, I don't know if you'd call video games balkanized exactly, but the nature of the business and the industry and just of the medium has changed a lot. And I think it's really hard for games journalism oriented sites to really find traction. And there's differences to how search engines work, and that's really important. And there was the whole fake pivot to video thing that Facebook did just to kind of destroy print journalism. It all sounds like conspiracy theories as I'm saying it out loud, but I was there and I lived it, and I watched these things happen. I remember, the day we had a meeting at 1UP and management said, we're going to start publishing our content directly to Facebook. And I just thought that was the most ludicrous thing. Like, what do we stand to benefit from that? We're not getting people looking at our site. We're not getting ad impressions off of it. They're just going to someone else's website and reading the work that we did. And how can I stay employed that way? So just the nature of the internet as people figured out, you can make money here. There was this kind of sweet spot where, the area where 1UP existed, where you had print journalism and you had online journalism, and there was, when it was done right, there was good synergy between those, and it made sense as a business model. But then the model shifted and print went away, and all of a sudden you couldn't make money just off advertisements anymore. And so every site just sort of exploded with pop-up ads and just making a miserable game experience, reading experience. I saw all kinds of horrible experiments, we're going to have random words of your article turn into an automated link that goes to a product on a shopping site to make money. That was terrible, and it broke sites. The tech didn't work. Just things like that. The whole I can't remember what they call it, the Google search box, where it's like it's a summary. It's kind of the precursor to what we have now with the AI summaries. And if you didn't get your content, your site linked in like the top 3 links of a Google search, no one went there. Like AMP, that was what it's called. Yeah, so it just like the environment isn't friendly toward games journalism as a business. But there are great sites that are out there that are, really it's kind of bootstrap sites.
Yeah.
That like MinMax and Waypoint and that sort of thing. Like they're doing great stuff, and it's all pretty much self-funded or community funded. They have the direct connection with the audience, and I think that's kind of the way to go, because you can't trust the big corporations to have the staff's best interests in mind or the readers. I'm not saying that like there are no good corporate sites, just that you never know when they're going to pull the rug out from under your feet. I mean, just yesterday, like the entire Escapist staff was laid off so that they could pivot to AI. Like, what can AI do? They can't review a game. They can't write a strategy guide for a new game. Like, AI can't do all these things. It can just summarize other people's news and make up things. So I don't think that's going to go well for them. I think, people will maybe click through for a while. There'll be rage bait headlines, but eventually people are going to say, this isn't real. This isn't substance. I'm not like actually getting anything I can't get anywhere else. That's not a business model, even if it's free.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, that's, you mentioned MinMax and Waypoint. Like, yeah, I've been a big fan of sites like, OneUp.com in the past, but like, I was really a GameSpot person when I was, back in college, and then that evolved into, GameSpot evolved into Giant Bomb, evolved into like what they've splintered into. And so it's really interesting just to see, just from the person reading it standpoint, just how the corporate side of things has kind of just tried to maximize what they can out of it, and just going with the latest trends when they don't really know, kind of why people are searching it out in the first place, right? So yeah,
I mean, at some point,
just frustrating. But I'm glad to get your opinion on it, because
I have lots of opinions. That's the tip of the iceberg right
That's
there.
why you're here.
That's the surface. You can't see the rest beneath the water. It's not fit for broadcast.
I hope that at some point there's a retraction of all this stuff, and maybe we get back to at least some semblance of what we had with real people, pouring passion into everything. I mean, even like just talking about GameSpot, Jack, like that during that time period, having like Greg Kasavin reviewing games. I mean, what a like golden age of, that whole period. I had no idea how lucky I was to have the high quality reviews and content all over the place. So now it's a little bit few and far between, I think. But. All right, Daria, you're up next.
So on your YouTube channel, you've been creating your video work since series focusing on different post-Atari Crash consoles. Has there been a particular console that was your favorite to document?
Yeah. I mean, for me, NES is what I grew up playing and really loved. And so covering the NES is just like a little treat to myself. But the thing that I've really enjoyed has been branching out and exploring consoles that I didn't get to play before, that maybe I'd never heard of before. And giving Virtual Boy a second chance was actually very satisfying and rewarding, because there are some really good games on that system. And it's cool, like we're recording this, broadcasting this the day after Virtual Boy launched on NSO. I've got my oversized, like, stick your Switch 2 in here visor sitting next to me.
How is that?
I haven't opened it yet. Okay. I haven't had time, but it is like a full-size, almost Virtual Boy headset. It's crazy. They just went and did it. They're insane, but I love it. There's some really great games on there. I also really enjoyed documenting the SG-1000, because it's like, wow, here are the primal roots of Sega. This was them figuring out how to do console games, and they really took a while to get it nailed down. but there are some interesting experiments and some interesting technical creations. And by the time they wound that system down, they had pushed the technology way beyond anything like Coleco had done with it during the ColecoVision days. So yeah, that was really exciting. And then that just rolled into Master System.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right, Jess.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit about what got you back into games after you'd kind of taken a step back, but what broke you into a career of actually covering video games?
So I was unemployed. I got laid off from a newspaper in 2003, and someone I knew online said, "Hey, we're launching this website kind of as a tie-in with EGM. Do you want to come do some graphic design work for us?" So I applied. I got the job, moved out to San Francisco, and a few months later, OneUp.com started. So that was pretty much it. It was like this really interesting era where you could apply for a job making stuff at video game websites and actually get it. Who knew that there's not that many jobs out there these days? So it just seems like something from another century, but it actually happened. I was there. But really I got that job because I liked Final Fantasy VII when it came out, and I started posting on the official Squaresoft homepage forums, just like chatting with people on those forums. And then that evolved into RPG or RP Gamer. And then there was a big exodus of talent, and they launched the Gaming Intelligence Agency. And so that kind of they sort of roped me in. They were like, "Yeah, we like the stuff you do on the forums, and you're always posting art and funny articles and things like that. So you want to come over here?" So the person who reached out to me about the job at OneUp, or the site that would become OneUp, was actually someone, Nick Maragos, who had been with the GIA and I'd collaborated with there. So basically, I liked Final Fantasy VII, and people gave me work because of that. Who knew?
That's awesome.
That's freaking fantastic. Yeah. Favorite game of all time for me.
So have you played both the remakes, I assume?
No, I haven't. I'll be honest, I don't know PlayStation 5. Now that they're on Switch 2, I do have the Intergrade. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I have not had time to play it. I've got like 5 or 6 projects that are, on fire and behind schedule, so I got to get those out of the way first. But yeah, I would like to. I demoed it at PAX West before it came out, and I was like, oh, I see what they did here. They took Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns and they made Final Fantasy 7 out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm into that. So
yeah,
I am looking forward eventually to playing the new Final Fantasy 7. Final Fantasy 7s.
All 3 of them. Yeah. Well, I look forward to, hopefully at some point you'll make a video or something on it. Love to check out your take on it. I still prefer the original, probably just because, I mean, it might even be just nostalgia, but the remake is great. I love it. It's just the original will just always hit me in the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 different kinds of games. One is a turn-based RPG, and the other is not. It's more, real time, open world-ish. So, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, we mentioned video game magazines. What are some video game magazines you love? Either, there aren't so many recent, but either relatively recent or forever ago.
Forever ago. I mean, I would sit at the newsstand. I never bought it, but I would always read Electronic Gaming Monthly when it came out, because it was packed with screenshots and information. It was very dense about games and systems that I didn't own and would never own, but it was interesting to look at. It was just like, wow, there's this alternate world out there beyond Nintendo Power. So that was always a lot of fun. And then eventually I contributed to EGM, and that was very satisfying.
That's really cool.
I bet that was awesome.
I think the magazine that was the most fun to contribute to was GMR. I don't know if you remember that one. It was very short-lived.
Jack and I sold it.
Well, it ran for like
I worked
3
at
years.
EB Games for a little while.
Yep.
So yeah,
Jack and I together, we sold it.
Yeah, but despite it being the EB Games official flagship magazine, competitor to Game Informer, they gave us a really free rein to just kind of be ourselves in that one. So, I got to write about some pretty niche stuff that the other magazines were like, I don't know about that. And that was great. And the graphic design was always great. James Milkey and Simon Cox were the art leads on that, and they always made it like very fun, like zine-like almost. They took kind of a punk rock aesthetic with it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed GMR. It's sad that it went away. It was a great magazine.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I really enjoyed reading it while it was out. And while, like I said, we were trying to sell it, so we made sure we knew what we were talking about at the time.
Still have my copies
Yeah.
back then.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
I lost my comic collection in a flood, but I still have all my game magazines.
The important ones.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next actual question. So I like to ask this one to all of our guests. All right, you have the time completely cleared in your schedule. What game would you most like to erase from your memory and experience again for the first time?
Huh. So if I could rewind my brain back to where it was in 1997, I think Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, yeah, that's a good.
That was a great experience. I went into it not knowing what to expect, loving Castlevania, having been a fan of Castlevania since the original, but not knowing anything about this aside from here's a new Castlevania on PlayStation. But it looked really cool. The art was really cool. The graphics looked great. So I actually got my PlayStation modded and imported it. And despite not knowing a lick of Japanese at that point, fumbled my way through it. And eventually I did have to look up how to get the inverted castle and the real ending on the internet. But, it was just this is what 2D games can be. This is what pixel art can be. This is incredible. And this is what Castlevania can be. This is totally different, but at the same time, it feels like Castlevania. It's wild. So yeah, that was just my eyes, my third eye opened, actually, not just my eyes, but the third one, just I became aware of the universe and said, Metroidvania.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: how many years later was it when you realized that the first stage, Bloodlines, it was actually the final stage of the Rondo of Blood?
Actually, pretty much right away, because I was following I think the Castlevania Dungeon was around at that point, Kurt Collada's site.
Okay.
And there was a guy who contributed to GamePro. His online alias and magazine alias was Boba Fett. And he was publishing a website breaking down the game as he was playing it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I got my nudge to, I need to do this and that in order to open up the second half of the game. So someone somewhere in there mentioned this is not Bloodlines at all. This is a totally different game that didn't come to America, and it was the best game, and we'll never get it because Japan hates America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The usual online lamentations of 1997. So I didn't actually experience Rondo of Blood until a decade later, almost. I bought a Turbo Duo or PC Engine Duo and Rondo of Blood at Pink Godzilla Games kiosk at one of the early PAXs.
Nice.
And it was very expensive, but it was it was a great experience. And then 6 months later, they said, "Hey, we're remaking Rondo of Blood, and you can play the original game for free inside the PSP shell." I was like, "Thank you for wasting $400 of my dollars."
Yep. I've always told myself, if I ever get over to Japan, I'm gonna find Super Potato or wherever. I'm gonna go somewhere and grab a Turbo Duo and Rondo of Blood, just so I can say that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
You should. It was such a great period though with Symphony of the Night, because we were kind of starved for 3D or 2D games with all the 3D that was, hitting us over the head at the time. So getting a 2D game at that time, especially of that quality, was quite the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Jack, hit us up with your next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So being an industry veteran, there must have been a lot of game events you've gone to over the years, put on by publishers or just conferences like E3, DICE, GDC, CES. What is, without naming names, if you don't want to, what is the craziest or cringiest event you've ever been to?
So I was thinking about this because I saw the notes. I've told the story of the Vita boat on Retronauts before. I will say the most overblown event that I went to, which was in a good, cool way, was a Capcom event, probably in 2007, 2008, during Tokyo Game Show. They hosted a big event at Gonpachi, which is this wonderful, it's this restaurant in Roppongi, Tokyo, where a big part of Kill Bill took place.
Okay,
they filmed it in Gonpachi. So they had their event there. They served this amazing sushi. They made announcements. Keiji Inafune, God bless him, he wore a yellow jacket with a black stripe down the side. Not the full Bruce Lee, the Bride outfit, but
yeah.
But there was a hint there. This was before he left the company. So that was just kind of a wow, is this really happening situation? The Vita boat is a different kind of situation. It was a wow, is this really happening? And I've told the story before, but it's fun, so I'll tell it again. Back the year that the PlayStation Vita came out, so that would have been 2012, I think, before it launched. Sony had really held the system, their cards, close to the vest, and hadn't really shown anything about it. So the first night of Tokyo Game Show, they invited a bunch of journalists to an event to finally get hands-on time with the Vita. And so we all took a shuttle from way out in Chiba, where Tokyo Game Show takes place, back into central Tokyo, which is like a 1-hour bus ride. And they dropped us off at Shinagawa, which is kind of this industrial area with a lot of markets and warehouses and stuff. And it was just kind of this empty space. We were like, what's going on here? But they dropped us off and someone met us. There were 50 of us, and they led us to the water side and took us onto this long wooden boat, like a covered boat. It was this beautiful boat, I think it's like a luxury tour boat or something, but it was very traditional Japanese style. Inside there were 2 long tables, traditional Japanese tables that you sit at on the floor on a cushion. And for the next few hours they served us food and did not let us play PlayStation Vita. And this was the first night of Tokyo Game Show, which is where you've done all your hands-on appointments and had your interviews, and you want to go back to your hotel and write about stuff. And none of us could leave because we were on a boat in the bay and we were just kind of stuck there, not playing Vita games. At the very end, there were 2 Vita systems that they brought out, and people were just dogpiling them, crowding around. I got 30 seconds with Loco Roco. That was it. That was all I had to show for it. But it was just so tone deaf. That is not what people want on the first night of Tokyo Game Show. As the after party, awesome. But it was supposed to be a demo event that we could write about, and there was nothing substantial that came out of that. And what I really felt bad for the Engadget people. What was their blog? Not Joystick. Was it Joystick? Yeah, maybe it was Joystick.
I think it was Joystick.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, some of my friends from Engadget, Joystick, were sitting right across from me on the other side of the table, and they had very strict rules about what they could and could not accept from people as gifts. From publishers. For us, we were don't take objects or systems or stuff, but you can eat food, it's fine. But they were absolutely not. So they sat on this boat for 3 hours, not eating, not being able to file stories. It was just a horrible, miserable experience. And at the end, the European side of Sony that put it together, I saw their PR guys who were high-fiving, yeah, this ruled. Meanwhile, everyone was going away oh my God, what is this?
Yeah.
So that's by far the cringiest event I went to. And Retronauts listeners, if they hear the expression Vita boat, they know what's coming. It's another rant from Uncle Jeremy.
That is an amazing anecdote.
That is wonderful.
Terrible. I like Gonpachi a lot better.
Sketchy Ceviche writes in, the headquarters Sony is in Shinagawa, next to a water treatment facility. It's an interesting view.
Yes, I've been to their office. It's this very austere, very high-tech looking building, and it's in the middle of nothing. Like it's just it's a terrible place.
Man.
Cheap real estate, I guess.
There you go. Water treatment
Yes.
plant. The Vita both's great. I'm going to remember that for a while. And Daria, hit us up with your next one.
So to hop back over to your YouTube channel, your video work series uses several nostalgic references in its intros, and it follows a high quality documentary style. What was your creative process and how you developed your vision and your voice for this series?
I mean, I started out kind of doing that and just got better at video editing as I went along. I had never used Premiere when I put together the first episode, and if you go back and look, it really shows. But you know, eventually over time, I kind of settled in and figured things out. And yeah, like during the COVID lockdown, all of a sudden I was on video conferencing and Zoom calls a lot with people. And I was like, oh, you know, I should just put little like intro clips into my videos. I'd wanted to do that, but I thought no one wants to see me. But then I realized no one cares. So then I started the hosting segments and the little nostalgic clips you mentioned. That was actually inspired by a Doctor Who fan like critique site called the Eruditorium, and the writer for the Doctor Who like retrospective series always says like, you know, the week is March 6th, 1974. Here's what's happening in the world. Here's what's number one on the pop charts in the UK. And like that was very inspirational to me. And I said, you know, I think knowing the context of what was happening at the time does help kind of ground these to kind of give you a sense of what was pop culture like when these games were coming out. So I just kind of stole that idea. I'm sure they didn't invent it, but I lifted it from there and just instead of doing like a comprehensive, here's what the world was like in, you know, September 1987, just throwing in like a little 5-second clip of a music video that was in the top 10 on Billboard that week, or a movie that was in the top 10 of the box office that week, or a TV show that was airing that week. So it just kind of varies. Sometimes it's news clips. But yeah, like if you watch those in aggregate, the intent, I don't know, I've never actually sat down and watched my entire video series, but the intent is that as you watch that, it does kind of paint a picture of what was happening in pop culture and, you know, in politics and history during the time that these games were coming out. Because, you know, that had a huge impact on games. The longer I've been covering NES games, the more I've kind of leaned into what were the political and social factors that shaped these games. And that was always there from like, you know, the Zapper and Duck Hunt episode, but it's become increasingly hard to avoid when I'm writing about something like, you know, Bad Dudes, where you have to save the president. But in the arcade, it was President Reagan. Now it's President Bush. Like, you can't not talk about what was happening in, you know, American politics at that point. You can't talk about Nintendo's rise without talking about the OPEC crisis in the 70s. Like, it's all interconnected. It's one big system. And I've increasingly taken that sort of holistic view with not only my videos, but also with Retronauts, the podcasts that I co-host. I just think it's really important, especially now that information is becoming degraded online and there's a lot of rot to links. And I don't mean rot in like a judgmental way. I just mean like links are dying and false information or erroneous information, bad summaries are edging out the actual research. You know, like Wikipedia 20 years ago, if you cited Wikipedia in your work, people were like, God, that's pathetic. And now it's like the bastion of information. It's like the place you can rely on being factual and having real sources. So yeah, I just feel like it's the right thing to do as the global climate changes.
What's been the most interesting, like, in talking about the political and like what the world was like around that time? What have been some of the most interesting things that you've kind of connected or like discovered, essentially?
I don't know that I've discovered anything, but certainly kind of putting things into their context. I don't know. I feel like I was always kind of aware of that because I, was like a teenager when I was playing NES and Super NES. So I watched the news and I was aware of the world. But yeah, just kind of like seeing how these things have had knock-on effects that continue to resonate through the medium now. That's interesting. And also I have done a lot of research into Japanese history in the latter 20th century, because you can't talk about the rise of console games without knowing like what was happening in Japan that shaped all of this. And, the economic miracle of the 70s and 80s, the big collapse as their construction industry collapsed and destroyed their economy for a while. Like all of those things have a big, big impact on the kinds of games that we were seeing coming over from Japan, which, during the console era was the majority of games, really.
That's really cool.
Well, yeah, it's great. It really sets the stage too at the beginning of the video. Like it's like a time machine back into that period. So I love the intro. All right. Oh, were you gonna say something, Jeremy?
Oh no, I was just gonna say like every episode there's people always comment on those things. There's a couple of people who are like, "Whoa, that's a deep pull," or "What on earth is that?" And then it gets a conversation going and people talking, which I really enjoy. Like just kind of sparking that discussion of things like that.
Yeah, well, and it's just like I remember seeing those things on TV or the different things that you pull from. So it's really, and a lot of the stuff I haven't seen since then. So it pulls you right back in there. So it's great. Nice anchor. All right, Jess, you're up next.
Yeah, so getting back into a lot of the stuff that you've done in your career has involved writing in some form, whether it be articles or scripts for videos. What do you find most challenging and or rewarding about the writing process?
So these days, I would say what I find most challenging is trusting my memory of things that happened 30 years ago. I used to be able to just pull from memory and be like, yeah, that's great. Now I keep making like just tiny little goofs in my scripts where I'm like, ah, yes, this is what happened. And then it turns out, no, that is not the way it was. So I have to be a little more mindful of, as the distance of time grows, to double check things that I just kind of take for granted. But the most rewarding is, I would say, pulling together information or thoughts that I haven't seen expressed anywhere else. I mentioned this recently on the Video Game History Foundation podcast, but there was an episode I published a few weeks ago about Shadowgate. And, that's pretty much an NES Stone Cold classic, but I started looking into it, and Shadowgate was actually the third game that Kimco ported from Macintosh to Famicom, but it was the first that they released in the US. And so then I was like, well, what's the story there anyway? I don't know why they published that one first, but I did kind of figure out like why they even converted those ICOM games from Mac. And I think it's because murder mystery games were huge on Famicom in Japan in like 1987, 88. And Kemco had a really strong connection with American companies. They were bringing over American games. They were creating games based on American properties like Superman, Bugs Bunny. And so instead of creating their own murder mystery game, I think they looked to American trade shows and saw Deja Vu and said, oh, perfect. There is an American murder mystery game that's actually graphic oriented, like in the style of a Famicom adventure game. We can turn this into a Famicom game really easily. We don't have to create something from scratch. We can just license it over. And they did a great job with it. And then they published, 2 or 3 other games, and one of those was Shadowgate. And then they brought the other 2 over later to the US. But I'm pretty sure that is how that happened. Was Kimco is just like, we've got to get a murder mystery. Let's see what's happening in the US.
That's so cool.
It's crazy.
Very cool. All right, so here's another one. What is unique about the medium of video games?
I would say that video games are an active medium. I mean, you have to be a little active to really pay attention to a book or a movie or a great album, but you're still not really focusing your attention on them in the same way that you do with a video game. And I feel like that has the ability to create like deeper neural connections, mental connections, deeper memories. I just saw Chris Kohler tweeting, or not tweet, but on Blue Sky said something about, people are saying it's bad to let kids look at mobile devices. No one's going to have great memories of screen time. And maybe that's true, but you can't tell me I don't remember exactly that moment that I beat A Link to the Past. And, that kind of thing sticks with you for sure. So I feel like that is really what differentiates video games from any other medium.
Yeah.
There is something to that. Like, you get to a big moment in a game, whether it's like Link to the Past, it's different for everybody, right? Like there's something that just hits you emotionally, doesn't quite hit you like a movie because it's just you're just kind of passively watching it. Like it's something you've actively done. And like you said, like for you, it was that. For me, it's like, hitting the ashtray maze in Control. Like it's different for everybody. Like it's just something hits you and like it fires whatever neurons in your brain, and it's just like, okay, I've got to like. There's something about this experience that's truly unique, and nobody else will have that same exact pull.
Yeah, video games definitely do that uniquely. I mean, I remember being a kid, again, as I've said it 1,000 times, in Super Mario Brothers, and just it was such a different feeling to me playing that than anything else I'd ever done. And then, I've been trying to recapture Catch the Dragon ever since, and occasionally do with different games. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about it in that particular way. That's really interesting.
So to kind of hop off of what you said, Jack, like I loved the ashtray maze sequence in Control. Like I remember the first time playing that, and there was like another game that I had a similar experience kind of like that was Jedi Survivor. I'm not gonna say which, but there but yeah, there was a sequence there. I was just experiencing it and like following it, like reacting in the moment. It was a lot. I loved it.
Yeah, and it brings everything together. I mean, that's one of the things that is so cool about video games. It has writing, it has directing of visuals, it has sound design, it has performance now, it has fantastic artwork. I mean, there's like every type of artistry, and then you bring in the technical aspect of the coding and like the hardware design. I mean, it's a pretty amazing. I mean, that's another reason I like film too, is it brings in a lot of that. But video games, adding in all of those elements along with the hardware. I mean, like I love looking at current, but also especially like older hardware and just seeing how they artfully mastered that hardware to push things it was never ever meant to do. So it's really cool how it all comes together. I try to explain that sometimes to people who don't understand why I like video games, and it usually doesn't hit with them, but it's the attempt. It's the attempt I make of how it brings all those things together, because I think that's such a cool human collaborative effort. Until AI does everything, then it's all gone. But all right, Jack.
All right, so Jeremy, outside of playing video games, writing about video games, and working on your YouTube channel, what do you like to do in your spare time?
For spare time, I haven't had a lot of it lately, but I like traveling. If I can drum up the funds and the time for it. My wife and I try to travel outside the country once a year if we can. And it's always great, just to go to the great cities in the world, look at great museums with great artwork and things like that, eat great food from other cultures. I don't know, that's really a hobby. I love listening to music when I have time for that, but when you're editing podcasts and videos, it's hard to find the quiet space to enjoy a piece of music. But I have a pretty extensive record collection behind me, so it's there kind of aspirationally at the moment. But it's not just a collection that I bought because I want to own stuff. It's because I want someday to listen to these.
Yeah. I'm going to steal that
Yeah.
phrase. I aspirationally own things. It's very, because
I
it
mean,
isn't.
that's the pile of shame, right?
Well, but
Yeah.
it's different than just buying it to show it off. There is a distinction between you actually do eventually want to use it. But as a music lover myself, I think all of us actually are pretty big music lovers here. What kind of music do you like the most?
Oh, it's all progressive rock.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
I've
up my
got it
alley.
from Asia through actually through Zappa if you want to get down there.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Nice.
A to Z.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I see some nice speakers back there too. So when you do get to reach your aspiration,
It does at least sound good. Yes.
Yeah.
I treated myself last year. I had some good freelance projects that came in, and I said, you know what? I own a lot of music, and sometimes I get to listen to it. It should sound good. So
Yeah.
I finally bought, for the first time in my life, some good speakers. Yeah.
Nice.
awesome.
That's
So,
awesome.
I mean, to kind of segue from that, like, what are your favorite all-time like chip tunes? And apart from the chip tunes, what are your favorite video game soundtracks in general?
So chiptunes, I mean, you can name any Final Fantasy, Mega Man, Castlevania soundtrack, anything
Yes.
by Yuzo Koshiro.
Yes.
Like, it's kind of cliche. That stuff's all awesome, though. I love it. Yeah, so not chiptune, something like Symphony of the Night, Etrian Odyssey. Yeah, those are great ones. I also really enjoy some of the remix albums that came out. Like, I've been buying some of the YMO, GMO albums, like the Super Zevious soundtrack that, takes a 5-note loop and turns it into a 20-minute electronic sort of soundscape with sampling and stuff. It was like super out there at the time, but it's kind of the foundation of video game music. So stuff like that's really great to listen to.
I think when the DLC came out for Vampire Survivors, I like immediately plunked down the $5 because I was like, I don't care about the game so much. I just want the remixes of all the Castlevania songs that are in this thing.
Yeah, when I was back at 1UP and we would go to Tokyo Game Show, I would always try to work with some of our partners over there to try to arrange interviews with game developers, but mostly with game composers.
Really?
So that's something I really miss, is just going to Japan for a week and then taking like 3 days of that to go around and interview like someone who worked on the Castlevania soundtrack or Yoko Shimomura or someone like that. Like that was always awesome. And I, would love to do more of that again someday.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Again, such an astounding period of so many just amazing themes invented in quick succession that still last today. I hope that the new Castlevania game has some cool callbacks.
Yeah, I have to hope it does, right? I can't imagine they would do that and not.
I mean, I
It's
can
a sequel
imagine.
to Castlevania 3, so they're gonna.
I
they're
hope
gonna
so.
Just
I mean, I'm
pull
okay.
that soundtrack out.
I'm okay if they milk it. That's some great stuff. So, all right, Jess, believe you're next.
Yeah, so getting into kind of the narrative aspect of games, what are some of your favorite game stories that you've experienced?
I've been kind of slowly working my way through the remake of it, but Final Fantasy Tactics, the new localization,
Oh,
the new voice acting in the Evilise Chronicles is like really just elevates that. And I feel like I'm finally old enough and mature enough now that I'm a middle-aged man to really appreciate the subtext and just the subtlety of that story. It's one of the best, absolutely, in a video game.
Oh yeah.
Other stories that I love. It's not so much the story as the storytelling, but I love Mega Man Legends just because it's so earnest. It's like a Studio Ghibli film, that you can play. And, you know, you can't help but love the villains in the piece because they're not really the threat. There's another threat. The real threat's scary. But the bad guys that you're fighting throughout, they're actually just goofballs. And in the end, Mega Man shakes hands with them and helps them out. It's great. It's just a heartwarming little game. It's a shame they never made a third one, but we have two, and that's, you know, at least we have those.
Does the Tronbon game count at all?
It does. They always forget about it, but yes, that's actually, in terms of gameplay, my favorite in the series, just because it mixes things up so much. And it's like, now that I know more about the roots of Japanese gaming, I'm like, oh, I see what they're pulling from in all of this. It's like a collection of all the like favorite sort of side genres of like the 8-bit era.
Yeah.
Very cool. This is a fun discussion so far. I'm really enjoying this. So,
Glad I'm living up to my billing.
oh, definitely. Of course. Well, we had
Absolutely.
no doubt about that. All right. So this is a fun one because I love the quirks of these systems. But video game systems in the past had unique hardware between them that excelled at different things. What were some of your favorite hardware quirks of some of these systems?
So when you say quirks, you mean like...
Basically, now like all of the different consoles are pretty much the same, right? Like the PS5.
Yeah, okay,
But back
sure.
then they were different. They had, you know, the Genesis was fast, the SNES had Mode 7, etc. What were some of your favorite quirks and maybe how they were used?
I mean, I love the fact that the Super NES can't generate music. It can only play back samples. So everything is sampled, and the quality of the samples really determines the quality of the music. But it gives everything this sort of warm sound. And sometimes it's awful. It's like out of tune. But when it's done well, you know, it's like the Jim's driver on Genesis. When it's badly programmed, you're just like, oh, what is this discordant hell? But when they get it right, you're like, this is the future of music. I feel like I'm in a spaceship. It's so cool. Yeah, so I love that about the Super NES sound chip. I love the way Sega added all kinds of weird stuff to the SG-1000 and eventually created, you know, it eventually added up to the Master System. The Master System is an SG-1000 with a better graphics card. But at the end, they released a system, you know, it was called the Mark III in Japan, but they did release a console called the Master System. And it is the American console, but it has all these bells and whistles built into it. It has an FM sound coprocessor that was normally an external device that you couldn't get in the US. So you play like Phantasy Star and it's got this alternate soundtrack and it's amazing. It's so good. You can hear it in the Switch version. It can hook up to a keyboard. It has a built-in, like the card slot, also has the ability to power the 3D glasses. Or no, there's like a socket that you just plug the 3D glasses into. So it's just like bells and whistles. It's the only Master System or the only Mark III Japanese console that uses the light gun. So they didn't make any games for it or release any games for it over there, but it does support the light phaser. So it's like this 5-year evolution from 1983 to 88. Eventually the SG-1000 becomes this like Cadillac of 8-bit systems. It's really great.
Ultron.
It's awesome. I gotta tell you, like you mentioned the Super Nintendo sound chip. Like I didn't think of it at the time, but now like looking back on it this many years later playing it, I realized like, you know, you mentioned the samples. That's one of the things that you could never get any good bass out of it. Like there was no game where you really had a really good like bass line in a song.
You could almost get like the Seinfeld sound. That was about it.
Yeah, no, they gave you the slap bass librry. So I mean, what more do you want? Like, go play Paperboy 2, and it is like the Seinfeld soundtrack.
Yeah, the beginning of Super Metroid, which again I'm wearing my Super Metroid shirt. The music in that is just, I mean, there's so much great music, but that is always the first one I think of. And like I've said it before, but when I rented that game first, it was like raining outside. It was like the perfect atmosphere. And then I'm, you know, going down the planet and that just amazing music. And they do a good job of kind of gradually, you know, throwing lots of great chip tunes at you that just sound amazing. So, yeah. All right. Well,
Yes. I'll go next.
yes, you go next. I was so enthralled in the chiptunes conversation, I forgot where we were in the outline.
No worries. So in my first question, I kind of mentioned, the games journalism space has changed a lot over the last 15 years. So I know a lot of your former One-Up colleagues went on to work at Bungie and some other studios in community engagement roles, or they went independent, like you talked earlier. Like, is there a place you think the industry as a whole settles into within the next few years, or do you think there's still a lot of change to come? Like, just not necessarily games journalism, but just online journalism and just, online, I guess I wouldn't say culture, but just kind of where things are at right now. And is there more to come, you think?
I really cannot predict anything that's going to happen online or with technology right now, because the big question is all the resources that are being thrown at AI that are kind of starting to peter out. I don't know what's going to happen with that. There's going to be a shakeout, but I don't know really what kind of devastating effect it's going to have on the economy, because it seems like there's a lot that's just propping up AI on the hopes that it's going to be some sort of miracle pill that saves everything. But it's kind of shaping up not to do that. And at the same time, you have people saying, hey, now AI can make casual games for you. But do you really want to play those games? Like I saw the demo of, hey, it's Mario 64, but made by AI. And it's like, wow, it's Mario who moves more slowly and can't actually interact with things or go inside the castle. That's not really what I'm there for with Mario 64, but okay. Like technology is becoming really expensive all of a sudden because all the AI companies have bought up hard drives and RAM. I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on things, but they're talking about, hey, Switch 2 is going to get more expensive than when it launched. Valve is not able to ship its Steam Decks or its Steam, whatever the new machine is.
Yeah, Steam Machine
Yeah, Steam Machine. Because all the allocations have been snapped up for 2026 into 2027.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for things to happen in there. So yeah, I think things are going to be kind of tough in the games space for a while, and that means things are going to be inexplicably, somehow, it seems impossible, but even tougher in games journalism. So I think it's going to be, independent games. I think it's going to be people rediscovering the past. I think it's going to be independent websites that are going to kind of keep things alive. So the complexion is going to change, I think. You'll still have, a handful of really big games, but they're going to have a harder time getting to people because the machines are going to be expensive. Again, like I said, it's all kind of balkanized, and I think it's just going to get worse.
Yeah. You mentioned, just some of the price changes just alone, just from the console standpoint. I know there was a story, I think earlier today, Sony was talking about, hey, we're going to try to leverage our games and our live services to try to make up for not having to raise the price on our consoles. Like, that sounds even worse. But
Yep. It seems like it always sounds worse. All the everything lately.
But kind of,
Still waiting for some good news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of piggyback off of that. What video games have changed dramatically over the years? What are some of the things that you see happening now that you would like to go back to the way it was?
So what I would maybe this is impossible, but I'd love to see in video games now is the sense of evolution and change and invention that you saw in the 1980s. But I don't know if that's realistic because they were inventing the medium at that point, and now the medium is pretty well defined. So I guess it's a lot to ask to say, hey, let's invent some new genres and new forms of gameplay. I would like to see more games made with tighter resources. I feel like, it's nice to have infinite budgets, and Nintendo does a great job with that, but not everyone can do that. And I think there is something to be said for art created within boundaries. Sometimes creating restrictions is a great way to to inspire creativity and to make people have to be creative and think about like, what can I do since I only have, this much budget and this much technology. And not to toot my own horn, but we just at Limited Run published the Jaws Enhanced Edition, which is a reworked version of Jaws for NES that I oversaw. And we weren't really allowed to, they were like, you can make the game that exists, more substantial, but you can't add like stuff to it. You have to work within the bounds of the same game. So that made me say, like, what can you do within this? And so I looked to a lot of the classic games like Zelda 2, Wizardry, Etrian Odyssey, Ys, and took elements from those, like not gameplay elements, but game design elements and philosophical elements. And I think, within those limitations, came up with we came up with a pretty cool new take on the Jaws NES game that is still Jaws, but now it's like an adventure with a little bit of a story and a much more extensive power-up system and like much more challenging enemies and faster gameplay that just builds over time. And it's a 2 to 3 hour experience instead of a 20 to 30 minute experience. And it would have been a different experience. It would have been a different result if they had said, yeah, go hog wild, create a new game. We'd still be working on it. But they didn't say that. And, so because we were given like really, really clear boundaries, like this is what you can do, we worked within those boundaries. And it forced us to really think and say, like, what can happen with this? Like, what does this allow us to do? And it turns out, when you really stop and give it some consideration, you can do a lot with a little. So I'd like to see that philosophy return more to the mainstream of video games, because when people were working on 8-bit systems, they didn't have a lot of like potential. They didn't have a lot of capabilities. It was, here's 64K of RAM and you can have 8 sprites on a line. Anything more than that's going to fall apart. So good luck. Mm-hmm. And, from that, you get stone cold classics like Zelda and Mario 3 and Mega Man 2. Like, my God, I would be so proud to have had any involvement whatsoever in any of those games. They're amazing. And they were made from just profound limitations that, the people making the games said, let's push the boundaries of what we can do within this space.
Yep.
Do you think that's
point?
Yeah, as I say, do you think that's something that game developers have lost with some of the technology of modern consoles, or do you think it's still just a different type of limitations now?
I think the limitations now. I think actually a lot of people working independently, they still kind of adhere to those restrictions. A lot of developers will look to a hardware spec like NES or TurboGrafx or something and say, I'm going to create a game that could only function within those boundaries. And, they come up with things that I can't imagine anyone in the 80s having come up with. It's like, these limited, technologically limited games that are informed by 30 or 40 years of evolution. And it's just night and day from what you saw on NES. But, that's not going to appeal to the mainstream. So I think the biggest limitation now is like, where do we draw the line? What is the point at which we put resources into here and we can still make money without, totally spiking the integrity of the game and just turning this into like a microtransaction loot box. So I think, the limitation is just what is the upper boundary of budgets and manpower.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Limitation breeds creativity for sure.
I was thinking about that exact phrase the entire time. That because like there was wasn't it that producing book that had that story?
The Shoot to Kill.
Yep.
Yep.
About that, and that was the whole point. Is limitation breeds creativity.
Yep. See, I assigned good books. Aren't you glad you read? No, I'm glad that you're reminded of that. It's one of my favorite of all, and it's such a well delivered point with games now too. I also was somehow under a rock for the Jaws retro edition that you were talking about.
It sort of slipped out without a lot of awareness.
Well, I actually like the NES Jaws game. I mean, I have fond memories of that.
The enhanced edition is for you.
I'm excited. Well, and I see it has like references to the 4 Jaws films. When I was like early grade school, I was obsessed mostly with 1 and a little bit with 2, and then there's the others. But I did like see the others several times because there was like on USA Network, they'd have like the Jaws marathons in the summer. I'd always watch. So like having some callbacks to those movies I haven't seen in a while, I think would be really fun.
Well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts if you have a chance to play it.
Cool. Yeah, I will I've got it up on my Steam, actually ready to buy. Nice. You were talking about it because I didn't want to forget. So cool. That's fun. But all right. So Jess, were you next? I got enthralled in the conversation against. Okay, yeah. I thought so.
Yeah. So speaking of retro games, what do you think makes retro games still worth playing today, and why do you recommend that people play them?
Well, not all old games are created equal, and there are some games that I would not necessarily say, hey, go out and experience that because it's going to be great. But I think like a great game is timeless. I think, if it's fun, if it was fun in 1988, and it was well made, it's still going to be fun in 2026. I mean, you can still play Game Boy Tetris and just get lost in it for hours. You can still play Bionic Commando for NES, and it still has the best grappling mechanism in any video game. So there's something to enjoy about all of these. But also, if you're really interested in video games, going back to the classics can really help you understand, like gain a better understanding of the games you play now. You'll find references or just concepts that have been built and iterated on for years and years. I mean, like you can play the upcoming Castlevania game, and I'm sure it's going to stand really well on its own. But if you play Castlevania 3 and you play Symphony of the Night, you're going to have a much better understanding of a Castlevania 3 sequel that plays like Symphony of the Night. So it kind of, it just gives you a grounding and gives you a better appreciation for what's being carried forward through time and what are the developers doing that's new. What additional ideas have they introduced in here? So yeah, it's at a very like basic level, classic games can be a great time killer because you just jump in, jump out. But for people who really care about video games, like playing the classics is, it's like, do you care about literature? Well, you should probably read some Shakespeare just to kind of see like how writing has evolved and where so many of these ideas have come from.
Yeah.
I love that answer so much.
Yeah. And
you all know too, that's like right up my alley.
Yeah. Well, cinema too. Like you go back, yes. You can watch Buster Keaton movies, you can watch silent movies, and like you understand a lot more about the medium once you see again what their limitations were and how they got around that, and
or like French New Wave. I always tell my students, I mean, it's not an apples to apples, but that French cinema, is akin to Japanese video games in terms of the influence on the industry and how they came about and really changed and evolved things. So many new techniques, and so I always love that comparison. French New Wave, for sure. So, what is a game I probably haven't played, and why should I play it?
You know what? I'll give you an easy one, and it's just out on NSO with the Virtual Boy app, and that is The Mansion of Innsmouth. Okay. It's an import only Virtual Boy game. It has very little text in it. You don't need to be able to read to understand what's happening. It looks like it's going to be a first-person shooter, and it kind of is, but it's one of those where you like move a space at a time, kind of like like a dungeon RPG or like Etrian Odyssey or something. But it is a shooter, and when monsters approach you, you do have like a targeting hair, like a crosshair that you have to shoot them. But it's a game based around a very strict time limit, and each of the levels like starts out pretty simply, but it grows in complexity as you play. And depending on how effectively you play through a stage, there are different exits and different paths through the game. And these lead to different endings. And it only takes like 20 to 30 minutes to play through, but it's very, very tense because you have, it's based on Lovecraft. So you are not an overpowered, like super, Doom Marine or something. You are a guy with a revolver and like desperately scrounging for bullets, and the enemies become spongier and spongier as you advance. And, by the end, you're pretty much just trying to avoid monsters. And it's a really, really tense game. You stick your face in the Virtual Boy and you get these jump scares of things popping out of corridors at you. It's a really cool game. Like, it's very, very simple, but it does a great job with taking the first person perspective, giving you something really immersive with the Virtual Boy visualization, making it super tense, and giving you a lot of replay incentive because you're not going to get the best ending on your first playthrough. There's like 12 endings, I want to say. And, they're affected by different things, but mostly by time. And so you really need to figure your way out. The level designs are set, but the placement of objects, such as the keys you need and ammo pickups and enemies, are randomized each play. So there's an element of unpredictability. You can't just say, oh, the white key is going to be here, so I use that on the white door. No, the white door is always in the same place, but where's the white key? Who knows?
So that sounds fun. We have a reason to play Virtual Boy now. We've been talking about it.
And you don't have to give any spoilers or anything, but with it being a Lovecraftian game, are there really any good endings?
I think there's an ending where you don't go insane, but beyond that, I don't know.
It's better than not.
It's all in Japanese, so I can't really say. I think it's in Japanese. It's been a while since I've played.
That sounds awesome. I need to check that thing out. Just the NSO Virtual Boy stuff in general.
For sure. Do you have to have the whole thing? Can you just play it on the Switch?
If you play it without the headset, it just gives you these two screens and there's like a distortion on them. It's pretty much unplayable. Okay. You really need the Virtual Boy lens. Although apparently there's a Tool album, 10,000 Knives or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
I'm a big Tool fan. It's 10,000 days.
So there's an LP that comes with like a 3D viewer thing. And Kate Willert tried it out and said, yes, that does work. So if you're a Tool fan with an LP collection, you can skip the NSO headset and
now I have to play.
Just play with your Tool record.
There you go.
I'm currently deciding between the $30 version and the Labo. I'm not sure which one I want to commit to yet.
It would be pretty cool to get that actual setup. I mean, I never owned a Virtual Boy.
Like the new, like the full plastic headset makes a good display piece. It's like you have a real Virtual Boy.
I rented one a few times back when I was in high school, and that thing was uncomfortable as all get out. So it like you said, Jeremy, it would be a really cool just display piece to have, but I don't know how often I'd actually break it out and play anything.
Speaking of display piece, Jack, I don't know if you remember, but like Weezer Jedi had, like, right when you'd walk into his apartment, he had the Virtual Boy like front and center.
I remember that. Yeah.
For everyone, because everyone would ask about it, like, oh, you have one of those. So always reminds me of that. So okay, Jack, your next question. You're up. I remember.
Yeah. So Jeremy, Limited Run Games, you've been doing some awesome stuff for them for a while. They've been putting out some really killer packages lately, and some that are, like, honestly, like when I saw that they were doing a Ren and Stimpy package, I was just like, really? Do we want to be re-releasing this? So, like, my question for you is, what has your time with Limited Run been like, and how much do you really enjoy digging into the history of, like, some of these classics and some of the not so classics?
Well, it's like I love working there. It's been great. I've been there 6 years now, and it's just a great place to work. I haven't really done as much digging into history as I would like. A lot of what I do is helping people publish books or putting together books to go into some of the game packages. Like I've been just crunching this week on the Scott Pilgrim EX Strategy Guide art book. It's a pretty big game, and there's a ton they gave us a ton of art. So if you picked up the collector's edition of that, you're going to have like a very thick book to give you all kinds of development history in that. But yeah, I haven't done as much of the game history stuff as you might expect, but it has been enjoyable. I do find that, you know, when I'm doing something with limited run, it's with the developers of these games and the publishers of these games as a partner, and that is more limiting than when I'm just doing something on my own. So, you know, it's just I have to change my tone and approach things a different way. Like, I can't even be too effusive about how great a game is, because like, especially Japanese developers will be like, oh, that's too much. No. Like, modesty is really kind of baked into the game culture there. So they're like, nah, dial that down. Okay. It's not the greatest thing ever. It's been interesting. It's been great after, you know, being in the press for so long, working as kind of an outsider and having good relationships with publishers, but not being on the inside, to finally kind of get the inside view and see like what's great about it and what's not so great about it. Like there's benefits to being, you know, in both camps, the press and the publisher. So, you know, it's been a little bit Father Tiresias for me. I get to see both sides.
That's really cool.
Very cool. Well, that's a good one, I think, to end on this evening. We've had a really fun conversation. Hope everyone's enjoyed it and will enjoy it throughout the week. But Jack, what are you going to be doing this week?
Well, I'm not sure about this week yet. My travel plans got thrown in flux with a few things that were going on at work. So I'm sticking around for the week. I'm going to watch some volleyball. After the show is over, probably going to take a quick break and I'll be back. I might stream some Resident Evil 2. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we should. Jack's going to probably stream some Resident Evil tonight. And then we're going to do our Resident Evil retrospective next week. So that's going to be fun. I think some point soon, I'm gonna stream Jeremy's Jaws game. I think that's gonna be my stream game. That's
Please do. I'd love that. That'd be great.
That'll be
Thank
fun.
you.
Of course. All right, Jess, what are you gonna be doing this week?
Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot of plans. I decided like the end of last week that in anticipation of Resident Evil 9, I was going to go back and watch all of the like mainline animated movies.
Oh, okay.
And so I got through the first one, and man, did I not remember how horrible that movie is, in the best way. So I'm looking forward to getting through the other three sometime this week as my kind of like cool down, chill out moments.
Awesome. Well, it's Resident Evil month, so that's exciting. Nice visit through history. And Daria, how about you?
Probably gonna try to play some more Alan Wake 2. So, yeah,
I said, let me know when you get to Wii Sing. Just let me know when you get to Wii Sing.
We're gonna be doing that together because to Jack's recommendation, that's what I'm gonna be trying out finally having a new graphics card on.
Yeah, I think I really only have like an hour or so far, but I love a lot of the mechanics that they've introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I'll be excited. And your new lighting this week looks really nice. I know I texted you, but I just wanted to bring it to. Looks very nice.
Thank you.
And Jeremy, our special guest this evening. What's your week look like?
I mean, there's more crunching on the Scott Pilgrim book. Got to get that wrapped up for people. But that's not very exciting to talk about. I am. No, I mean, it's work, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool work, but it's still work. I need to finish up my video on the Power Glove and Bad Street Brawler. I finally got to that
so
point.
bad.
It works. I spent my weekend trying to get this Power Glove to work and didn't have much success. I don't know if that's because it's busted with age or just because it was shipped busted. But also Bad Street Brawler is almost a good game and then it's not. So yeah, I gotta grind through that. But you know, it's fun. Everyone loves the Power Glove unless they have to use it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We really appreciate it. This was really
thanks for
fun.
having me on.
Of course, it's our pleasure for sure. And I'm looking forward to watching all your future works videos. And we'll see you all on the game show, same time. Well, actually, different time, 9 p.m. next week.